if you wouldn't mind.
Where are all the kids at? All the kids here?
We've already talked about it.
Yeah.
You want me to read it?
Yeah, you can read it.
What's the girl's name, Debbie?
This here is Terry. Let's see. This here is Terry Marks
Or should we just say, always
from Terry, Montana. Illustrated by Braden Stuckey. Way out under the eastern Montana sky is a perfect place for a 12-year-old boy to pass the time. There's roping and wrestling and more ways to get dirty than there are words to describe them all. And this was illustrated by Sullivan Marks. The town of Terry is a little blip of a town in a great rolling sea of Montana landscape. And it's as unlikely a backdrop as any for the Christmas miracle I'm fixing to unfold for you. This is a picture illustrated by George Johnson. Even at 10, he would split wood and do other odd chores grown men hire on for. He also took on newspaper route, which along with his other jobs and schoolwork kept him pretty busy. At 12 years old, why, he's every bit a man as anyone supporting a family. That's a picture on a bicycle illustrated by Don Hankins.
Wow.
Every day after school, the bus from Miles City would meet him at the Kimpton Motel with a thick stack of newspapers. The Miles City Star, fresh off the press with all the news fit to print and reading ready for folding. Then it's off across town to deliver the papers to waiting customers. That's a picture of a bus illustrated by Patrick Marks. Any papers left over he could sell at the Roy Rogers bar for a nickel apiece. This provides a little pocket change for a soda pop before moving on toward home and his evening chores. This is a picture of the Roy Rogers Bar and Cafe illustrated by Cody Mortensen. When Terry couldn't work the route, his best friend Dick Clark filled in. They were good friends only. Dick recently made off with Terry's girlfriend, and you know lately Dick was about as friendly as a saddlebur. And come to think of it, Terry didn't much care for Dick. But that's another story for another time. It's a paper boy illustrated by Alicia Stuckey. In warm months, by the seat of a bicycle, the paper route's a cinch. But there in December, the biting wind and drifting snow sidelines even the family Chevy when the cold dips low. On these days, it's an icy march for Terry, shuffling house to house through the freeze, shouldering a heavy sack of papers. That's a picture of me with a sack of papers illustrated by Hannah Marks. Now, folks in Terry, there are nothing if not hospitable, and when they'd see Terry roughing all that fridging to bring him the paper, why, they'd invite him in to a thaw out and give him a hot chocolate to warm his insides. Any kids in the house would fall over themselves to meet his hellos, and so he'd go from farmhouse to farmhouse. This is a picture of me with a hot chocolate illustrated by Abigail Stuckey. Thinking back on it made him go all tingly. Why, even time he'd pull a paper from his sack, he'd replace it with cash tips, wrapped presents and cookies and cakes fresh from the oven. By the end of his route, he'd look like St. Nick himself, feeling right jolly with a sack full of presents on his back. That's a picture of me with a sack full illustrated by Xavier Marks. Then home, the excitement would climb as three younger brothers and little sister danced and beamed about while he emptied that sack. 8 bulging eyes marveled at the pile of gifts and yummy sweets their brother Terry brought home to share with them. This is a picture of me and my 4 siblings, illustrated by Celeste Stuckey. Terry had no problem waking up this morning. He sat bolt upright, then felt for his boots and coat and made his way out without waking anyone. He finished his chores in record time, then shuffled to school through new snow, making a packed trail for his brothers and sisters to follow along. There's a picture of the beds and me getting my feet are hanging out the end. Illustrated by Kristen Hall. Let me tell you about the mean tricks that Amy old school clock played on Terry all morning and into the afternoon, moving backwards and sideways and every way but forward. Every kid found it a little harder to sit still. What with the thought of Santa and his reindeer paying a visit later tonight. That's a picture of a clock illustrated by Garrett Mortensen. The only one who knew the route was Dick Clark, Terry's once friend who now would certainly be showered with all the gifts and praise. Did I miss?
Yeah. There's 2.
Did I?
Yeah, but pretty good.
Early that, let's see, early that morning a man named Frank Crone took a cowl from his parole board who had cleared him to get married. Known to most everyone as Cowboy, his former rodeo cowboy.
Go back one page.
Okay. Oh yeah. Terry couldn't chase the thought of what surprises surely awaited him on his paper route that afternoon. When school finally released him, Terry found some surprises all right, more than he bargained for. And I'll wager, and that's a picture of a schoolroom with numbers up illustrated by Bosch Hanford. Oh, Bosch, huh? Well, he's a good artist already.
Bash.
Bash. Every day Terry would see his younger brothers and sister home before making the trip to the Kempton Hotel and his awaiting papers. On this particular day, they came home to discover an empty house, and all their earthly belongings were neatly packed into a farm truck parked outside. It's a picture of the truck, I guess, illustrated by Ben Stuckey. Early that same morning, a man named Frank Crone took a call from his parole board who had cleared him to get married. Known to most everyone as Cowboy, his former rodeo cowboy worked for ranchers in Ashland, Montana. He wasted no time and drove to Terry to ask for the hand of Miss Montana May Marks. So that's a cowboy driving a truck, I guess, illustrated by Madeline Stuckey. Agreeing to marriage, they packed up the house and waited on the kids to drive to Hysham and get married before a judge. There was no time to make goodbyes, and certainly no time for a paper route and all the gifts and thanks Terry expected to receive for braving the harsh, frosty nights. And that's a picture, the signs on illustrated by Anna Johnson. The only one who knew the route was Dick Clark, Terry's once friend, who now would certainly be showered with all the gifts and praise rightly belonging to him. The bicycle illustrated by Grace Marks. Gracie. He tried to make peace with all this while crammed in the back seat of their 41 Chevy with his brothers and sister and all their elbows. Terry watched the only town he ever known pass before him and then disappear behind him in the back window. Picture of everybody looking out the back, illustrated by Gideon Marks. He had a new dad now. He'd seen Cowboy several times, and he knew his mom dated Cowboy. But he didn't know they talked married, and he didn't know what his new life meant for him. That's Man and Woman, illustrated by Victoria Johnson. It was late by the time Cowboy and May were married and began the 100-mile trip to Ashland. Several flats on the farm truck delayed the trip further. Well after midnight, Terry was alone with his thoughts about whether Santa could possibly find him on a night like tonight. And that's a picture of him driving in the car, illustrated by Skylar Hall.
Wow.
Around about 2 a.m., the car pulled up to a dwelling that would serve as their new home. Terry roused his slumbering brothers and sisters and turned them into the night air toward the door of their new house. They pushed in only to stand and shout, not believing their eyes. They're going into this house, illustrated by Snowmarks. There in the middle of the warm room was a gigantic Christmas tree, swimming with lights and decorations and presents. Beneath it were presents. They all had their names on them. Sleepy eyes filled with life, and soon laughter and squeals broke the silence of their new home. Picture of a Christmas tree and presents, illustrated by Greta Marks. Good old St. Nick had a trick or two up his sleeve. He found them. Through it all, he found them. There's just something special about Christmas. Ain't no two ways about it. Folks going out of their way to help other folks, dropping by for visits and leaving goodies. It's the gem of the whole calendar. There's a picture of a house with a whole bunch of things, a fireplace, illustrated by Autumn Johnson. Well, Terry was touched by this Christmas kindness, and he endeavored to be Christmas kind on every day. There's never been a day in his life when he was too busy for someone who needed him. The love of Christmas stays with him. Shoot, I expect it can be in us too, if when we make the effort. And this is a picture of him setting the dreams in his mind, illustrated by Dustin Davis. Wow.
Oh, wow, how neat.
Sneaky people.
Look at the cover.
Look at the cover she got.
Cover art by John Hunt, story by Royce Marks, illustrated by the Terry Marks grandchildren.
Great.
This is something. That sneaky guy, he told me he was going to tell the story in a work party, but he told it last year, and I didn't think he should tell it again. This is such a neat book. I'll treasure it forever. All my grandchildren. My, it takes a lot of pages to get all my grandchildren in there.
Even an unborn one.
I know. That's neat. Did everybody get a copy of this?
No, but he will get us a copy.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh,
He'll probably send it to us electronically.
Right.
So.
Oh, that's great.